Hi, Antonia.
Hi, I just want to take a quick look and see if we have quorum.
I think we're close.
Five. Oh, we have six. We have Kristen now.
Okay, perfect.
And Erin. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to kick things off. Before we officially begin this meeting, I'm going to read the special note. This meeting shall be conducted pursuant to Minnesota Statute 13D-021, and members will appear electronically. All votes shall be taken by roll call, and each member of the board will be able to hear each other. No public comment shall be taken at this meeting, and public access will be restricted to comply with state health guidance during the pandemic. Comments can be sent to pgurung@rplmn.org and will be shared with the board. Citizens can also view a live stream of the board meeting on the library's YouTube channel, youtube.com/users/rochpub-library. So we will now officially call this meeting to order. I am going to take roll call. I will start with, I'll go in the order that I see in Teams. I'll start with Arhan.
Yeah, I'm here.
Thank you. Ken?
Yes.
Erin?
Here.
Jenny?
Here.
Kristen?
Here.
Omar?
Here.
Sarah?
Here.
Stephanie?
Here.
Perfect. Thank you, Antonia. Here. So the first item is the approval of the agenda. Could I have a motion to approve?
So moved, Brown.
Thank you, Ken. Do we have a second?
I'll second. This is Erin.
Thank you, Erin. I will now take votes via roll call, starting with Ken.
Yes, aye.
Erin.
Aye.
Jenny.
Aye.
Kristen.
Aye.
Omar. Omar, are you able to, can we hear you? Hello? Hi, Omar.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. We're just taking a vote on the agenda. Stephanie?
Aye.
Arhan?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
Thank you. The Antonia, aye. The agenda is approved. Moving on to the consensus agenda. We can just vote that as a package, can't we, Audrey? I don't know why all of a sudden it's confusing seeing it separated.
Yeah, you do vote for the, you can ask for a motion for the whole consensus agenda.
So a motion for the approval of the full consensus agenda.
So moved, Brown.
Thank you, Ken. And a second?
Omar.
Thank you, Omar. We'll take votes via roll call, starting with Ken.
Aye.
Erin.
Aye.
Jenny.
Aye.
Kristen.
Aye.
Omar.
Aye.
Stephanie.
Aye.
Sarah.
Aye.
Arhan.
Aye.
Perfect. Thank you. The consensus agenda is approved. Moving on to President's business. First up, we have the foundation report. Okay.
and continue Zoom meetings throughout the summer.
I don't have anything but a quick question, Karen. So sorry to put you on the spot since you're representing Brenda. A scanning station, we don't have one? Got
That is correct. It's an additional.
you. Thank you. Erin, do you have anything to add?
Nothing to add. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Karen. Next up, we have the Friends report. And that is a volunteer position, yes? Are we sending her off with like a card or some sort of thank you? Awesome. Thank you, Karen. Any questions from anyone on the Friends report? All right, moving on to the Selco report, which I assume will be delivered by you, Audrey.
Correct. I don't have anything to add other than what I put in the, did I? Yeah, I was gonna say, I think I wrote something. Yes, I did.
$1,000 from the American Rescue Plan Fund.
Right,
Library.
right. So I don't have anything more to add than what I put in the notes.
Do they want our input as well? Like they actively want us to give them some input?
Well, they asked the director, so it's a group process. If you have ideas that you want me to submit, we can certainly send them to me. I'm happy I'm happy to share.
I was also wondering if you've given some ideas and what your thoughts were.
Oh, I have. So one of the things we had talked about was piloting the lockers out in the community, a way for people to pick up out in the community, and it would be great to pilot that with some American Rescue Plan dollars. So they're all things that are currently in our plan that we're looking for funding for. So those are the kinds of things that I submitted, including, as we continue to partner around digital equity. That's another thing that is being discussed. So, so nothing that you'd be surprised at. It's all things we've talked about before, and we're looking to figuring out the funding on.
Awesome. Thank you, Audrey.
Yep.
Any questions on the Selco report? All right, moving on to the youth rep report. Take it away, Sarah.
Awesome. I can start with this. So as I'm sure all of you know, it is summer for Rochester Public Schools. And so students are enjoying these first few weeks, very hot weeks. But I know from my own experience, the first few weeks of summer are often exhilarating, but soon become a little bit kind of a what do I do with my summer type of feeling, depending on if people have things scheduled. And so having the library as a resource for learning and for just recreation has been something that I know I have benefited from every summer growing up here. And I'm just so excited that all the programs and services, I know we are working up to the levels that we used to be at, but I'm so excited for what the library has to offer in that regard. Just for youth in our area, going along with the U.S. Senate vote a couple days ago, or yesterday, I think it might have been, to make Juneteenth a national holiday. A couple of youth in our area will be coming together for a Juneteenth celebration on Saturday. And so just kind of the idea of celebration is in the air, especially for recent graduates like Arhan and I, and kind of figuring out what to do next. But knowing that the library will assist us in all of those asks, I know that for me personally, I am going to make a trip to the library in the next couple of weeks to get lots more books and expand my knowledge in that way. So thank you all so much for the opportunity to serve on this board, and to students and children all around Rochester who have benefited from all the work that you guys do year round. So
Thank you so much, Sarah. And it's really exciting that the youth group is doing something to recognize Juneteenth. Out of curiosity, do we have representation from any sort of community group or person within the community that kind of represents like a Black person? Sorry to be blunt, but I want to make sure that we're making sure that we bring in people that are for whom the holiday was created.
I think, oh yeah, so the Juneteenth like sort of celebration thing that Sarah was talking about, it's been set up by a former youth commissioner. She's in college now, and her name's Kashanti Taylor, and she is a Black person. So
Thank you. Sorry,
Yeah.
as someone who is Black myself, I just felt like it was really necessary to make sure that as a board, even on our youth committee, that we're making sure that we have representation when we're planning events like that. So I'm really happy to hear that you guys have that covered. Thank you.
yeah, no problem. I think Sarah represented my sentiments really well with the sort of like, I guess, closing of a chapter type of dialogue for like our high school careers, I guess. And similar to her, I will be looking towards the library during the summer for books to read, since I've started picking that up again, having more free time and all. I don't know, I kind of deviated away from it during my formative years of high school, but slowly I'm like getting back there and like realizing my appreciation for literature again. So I will be frequently visiting. And just on like a personal note, I visited the library today to ask about jobs and things like that. So if possible, maybe I'll be seeing some of you guys at the library as like an employee. So yeah, that's it for me. Thank you, everyone.
That's awesome to hear of your interest, Arhan. And Audrey, I don't know what we do to kind of advertise positions in the youth committee. That's a really great idea.
Sure, yeah. Everyone has it when people apply, they need to apply through the city. So yeah, we can definitely make sure that link is available.
It is available as of today, and it will be up through the 22nd.
Thanks, Andy.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, if there are no questions, we will move on to the committee report, starting with the policy committee.
Just a comment. This is Ken. I assume, Audrey, you talked to Mary
We're fine.
for the county youth stuff. She probably
Yep.
has a lot of good possibilities for people who would be interested in applying.
Yep, I will definitely make sure Mary knows.
Okay.
And
Thanks.
if I could just jump in, I know that Dominic just joined, and they are a member of the Youth Commission. And I know that we also had, I think, one other person who was interested. So Mary is excited for the future of youth commissioners as youth representatives to the library board. So I'm sure that she is as excited as we all are.
Okay.
Thank you so much. So just jumping into the committee reports, unless we have any more discussion on the youth committee. Okay, jumping into the report, starting with the policy committee. No, sorry, starting with the personnel committee.
Hey everyone, this is Adam. Personnel committee is underway with kind of the largest item for the year, which is the library director Audrey's annual review. So we've met once. We have a bunch of meetings scheduled for the remainder of the summer, and we've landed on a similar process that's been done in the past with some focused feedback from all members. I shouldn't say all members, but a variety of members from the library board, the library itself, and then other committees that Audrey is a part of. So we'll be sending a confidential survey to randomly selected members of each of those groups here shortly, and then we'll provide continued updates to the rest of the library board as we work through this. Antonia, I guess the other item, I don't know, I'm sorry for missing the beginning of the meeting, but was there an update provided to the rest of the board on Josh?
No.
Okay, and I can
Going to
yeah,
do that at the end, but do you want to do it now since we mentioned it before people are just wondering what's going on?
Yeah, certainly.
Sure.
Yes. Sorry for the confusion, but not necessarily related to the personnel committee, but just related to the board in general, is Josh DeFrang actually notified Antonia, Audrey, and myself recently of his intent to resign from the board. Unfortunately, his new position at a new employer has just taken a lot of his time. And he sent a note saying that he's very grateful for the opportunity to be involved in the board over the last few years and the variety of leadership positions he's had. But again, unfortunately, he just couldn't find the time to make it work. So we can certainly talk about it again more at the end of the meeting as well.
And one thing I've been wondering, Adam, and I think we'll discuss it more with Audrey and come back to the board, is whether we fill that vacancy on the executive committee. Or, you know, rather than just leave it empty through the end of the year.
Right.
Thank you for that. Any questions before we move on to the policy committee? All right, policy committee update.
So Heather's actually going to kick this one off.
I was wondering whether I should do something too.
Yeah,
I
please.
apologize. I couldn't find my unmute. Jenny asked me to speak to the work of the welcoming committee. So we've updated 10 policies and brought forward one new policy for review by the board. I do want to send out my appreciation for Kristen's active participation in this process. She's just been fantastic. Basically, I'm happy to answer any questions. And I know Ken had a concern about the expenditure policy.
Yep. Yeah, I was on the committee. Sorry, I missed the last meeting. My bad. Couldn't be avoided. I read through these. I was prepared, and of course, didn't show up. No problems with the changes. And the only question for the board that I had is, if you look at the expenditure policy, you will see that I think this has to be old. This has to be around forever. The board delegates library director or their designee the authority to approve all operating capital expenditures of $15,000 or less, procurement of goods and services. I think that amount is way out of date for the size of the organization they're running. Now, I'm at another small organization, the Children's Museum, and we get 20,000, you know, without approval that has to go to the board, and then you can even do it with a finance committee. So my recommendation, and welcome any discussion, is I think 30,000 would certainly be in line with today's, with expenses, with inflation, et cetera, I think 15,000 is just absurd. You can't, it's like having a car. You can't touch a car without it costing you $1,000 these days. So that's my recommendation. And feel free to jump in, castigate me, and tell them I'm nuts.
Ken, I think that's an excellent recommendation. I'm just curious. Do you know what other libraries do at all? Or, you know,
Not from a library perspective. I just know from the standpoint of other volunteer or other charitable boards and organizations I'm on that are much smaller than the library. So, even 30,000 may seem like kind of a small amount. So I'm open to suggestions, but I'd say at a minimum, bumping it to 30,000 as opposed to trying to get the board together, waiting to approve this kind of stuff. It wastes a lot of time. It's inefficient and gives Audrey the wherewithal. And Audrey, you should jump in to see if that's reasonable, if 30 or 40,000. I really don't have a problem with that kind of amount, given the size of your organization and your budget.
I mean, I'll weigh in. I support this, but I also support what the whole board decides. I mean, I'll work with whatever you decide, but there are times we do have to wait because of the amount. But I'm very comfortable raising that amount.
So I think my perspective, one more thing, and then board members can jump in. She's the director, it's hired, we trust her. Certainly that amount of money against the size of the budget she's operating under, there's no reason for her to try to convene, wait, and some things can be time dependent. That amount, I think, is just ridiculously low. And my motion would be at least 30,000, and I'm certainly willing to entertain from somebody else a little more than that.
So this
Hi,
is
Ken.
Jenny.
This is,
Oh. Do you want to go first, or?
yeah, this is Stephanie. I totally am in line with Ken. As someone who's been on the board for several years and has gone through some of the stuff that we have, I really have felt that 15,000 was not enough, especially through the water and through some of the other needs that we've had that have come up during the summer and things like that. I really felt like it was constrictive of the needs of the library, not so much the needs of Audrey. It was really what the library needed at that moment. And I just strongly agree with Ken. I think this is a great piece to bring up because we do operate on a very large budget. Costs, of course, go up. Therefore, capital expenditures are going to increase as well. I honestly feel like with what we've had to deal with in the past and some of the money that we've had to put out to get some of the repairs made, I'm extremely comfortable with saying $50,000 would be amount that I see is fair with those expenditures because of what we've experienced, especially in those crunch times. 30 would be applicable too. I just know with my experience on the board and having to go through some of the needs of the library need to happen now and trying to convene a meeting, it's been very difficult in the past to get some of those things done. So I am in totally agreement with Ken on this.
Well, I would certainly weigh in and agree that 50 is a very reasonable number. I have no problem with that. I would, if that's a motion, I'd second it. But, anybody else that has opinions are certainly welcome. Jump in.
So this is Jenny. I agree that 15,000 is quite low, but I want to make sure that we are being we're utilizing money responsibly. So I'm wondering if it's possible to go back for maybe a year's worth of financial statements and take a look at, what the average or even the range of operating and capital expenditures have been in the past year and make a decision based on that data rather than just in this conversation. how do people feel about that?
Jenny, I strongly support Ken's proposal, and I absolutely support what you've recommended. I think given that at the end of the day, we're entrusted with public funds, it's important that if we change the policy, the community understands why it's been changed and what kind of costs we typically incur. So I think that's an excellent proposal.
So I'll give you one more perspective. I've been on the county board a long time. Whenever we let deals for projects, we typically will give the authorizing agency up to 10%, which typically can be anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000 discretion without coming back to the board. These are large projects, but this is a large budget. So my feeling is I'm comfortable with it. I certainly trust Audrey, and I know that the delay can both cause an increase and other operational problems if you cannot act and take advantage of a bid to fix something, take care of it. So that's my opinion. The board can, we can call, submit, whoever wants to say something different, but I think it's reasonable for this size organization based upon my experience.
I guess this is Jenny again. I guess I am just trying to keep in consideration some of the feedback that we've received from the community earlier this year. I think that has weighed heavily on me, and I think we need to, show the community that we are being responsible. And, if we were to delay this decision, significant enough of a motivator to make the decision right now.
Yeah, man, it's the board's wishes, so I'm not hung up either way. We can wait a month and come back and decide. We might actually be in person, be able to look each other in the eye next month. That would be enlightening.
Okay, so since you brought it forward, Ken, I will kind of let you make a decision as to whether you want to put it to a board vote today or whether you want to wait until next meeting.
Well, is there more feeling from the board? Is there something like a consensus that we should wait, or should we move forward?
Hi, this is Kristen. I just will say that I agree that it should be increased, but I lean more towards Jenny's thoughts about how to approach it.
All right.
Yeah, that's me.
Okay. Yeah, that's all I'm looking for. I'm not pushing this. I just feel strongly that it needs to be increased, and waiting another month is not a big deal. So we can table this till next month's meeting and make a decision then on the amount.
So to be clear, you would want a report of all the expenditures over 15,000 in the last year?
I think Audrey, without killing yourself to this stuff, is just kind of look back and say, okay, how many times did you have to come to the board because of this 15,000 cap? I guess it really can be a fairly short list.
Yeah. Yep, I can do that.
And
all right.
I would ask for the amount for those times so that we understand,
Sure.
the dollar amount that you're asking for.
Sure.
Okay.
Yep, I can do that.
Great. Other than that, the policies, the changes were credible. They were great. They were fine. I have no problem with the rest of them.
Okay.
Good.
I am wondering then if we want to approve everything except that specific, which one is it? The expenditure policy.
Expenditure.
Or if we want to just wait and wait till the next meeting. What's your thought, Audrey?
My gut is let's approve everything except that one.
Good.
Because there'll be more policies coming down the road. So.
Okay. All right. So are there any questions or comments on other policies from the team? Okay. So I am seeking a motion to approve the policy changes with the exception of the expenditure policy, which will be re-reviewed at the July meeting.
I would move that, I would make that motion. Brown.
This is Jenny, and I second that.
All right, we will take votes via roll call, starting with Ken,
Aye.
Aaron,
Aye.
Jenny,
Aye.
Kristen,
Aye.
Adam,
Aye.
Omar,
Aye.
Stephanie,
Aye.
Sarah,
Aye.
Arhan.
Aye.
Thank you. That those policy changes are approved. So next up on the list, we have new business. So Audrey, can you talk to us about the librarian FTE change?
Sure. So we have 2 retirements in part-time librarians, and we also have a 0.75, so a 30-hour librarian who's the AFSCME contract allows for full benefits, and so the cost for adding the hours is just the cost of the 0.25. So the benefits are already paid for. And so we do think this is a good way to move forward on these positions, because like everybody else, hiring part-time people is pretty difficult right now. And so we do have to take this to City Council. We do have support from HR, and I do have support from City Administration. So if I have your support, then we will take this to City Council in July.
All right. Any questions before we put it to a board vote? All right, hearing none. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Ken.
Move approval, Brown.
Thank you, Ken. Do I have a second?
Second, this is Kristen.
Thank you, Kristen. Taking vote via roll call, I will start with Ken.
Aye.
Aaron,
Aye.
Jenny,
Aye.
Kristen,
Aye.
Adam,
Aye.
Omar,
Aye.
Stephanie,
Aye.
Sarah,
Aye.
Arhan.
Aye.
All right, the motion passes. So thank you, Audrey. You have our support to change that position to full FTE.
Thank you very much.
Next up, we have the Cersei Dynex. Audrey?
Yep. So the Cersei Dynex is the main software that that both the staff and the public use to do our library activities. So when you search the catalog, you're actually searching Cersei Dynex, and when we check out books to you, we're using the Cersei Dynex software. So for years, we have run the software on an internal server. That was long before cloud-based operations were a thing. And we do replace that server on a regular basis, and we save money in the intervening years for it. And it's time to replace that server. So we really wanted to come forward, and we're recommending that we just don't replace that server, that we work with Cersei Dynex to provide a hosted option for us. And software as a service is what that's called. And the hosted option will provide redundancy. So if, we have another disaster and our building burns down or something like that, our data is not lost. I mean, we are certainly doing backups offsite. That is not, but we wouldn't even miss a beat with that because it would be hosted. Your biggest risk in this environment is if you lose the network between the library and the hosted, but there's a lot of redundancy there. So Selco is using this, and they're having really good luck. We also, just as kind of as a point, when you're searching the catalog, you're actually searching a hosted solution. The data is on our end, but the software is actually on the other end. Steve, and we would use the money that we've been saving for the server to pay for the service. Steve, do you want to add anything else to this?
Sure. I think this makes a lot of sense. We've been, extremely happy with, as you mentioned, the online catalog portion, which is hosted with CERC. We find that, if that system goes down, they have systems in place that are automatically dealing with it before we even have a chance to, notify CERC. So it'd be kind of the same type of thing for, we have the database and the application side of Symphony that would be going into their data center. So I think it makes a lot of sense. CERC being a worldwide company, there's always someone in a data center monitoring systems like this to deal with them, even during the middle of the night or early morning.
The other advantage is that they do all the upgrades, so that gets moved off of our team, and it will actually allow us to move faster on the Blue Cloud mobile app. That will allow access to our catalog better on a smart device, or on a smartphone. So there are multiple advantages to doing this, and our administrative team supports this unanimously.
And just to clarify, Audrey, what we really would be approving is not necessarily CERC Dynix, but rather that transition from an internal server to a hosted, a cloud-based solution.
Right. Either way, we're staying with the vendor CERC Dynix.
Got you. And then just to clarify, this is just library data, so there's no consumer data that is captured.
I'm not when you say consumer data, I just want to make sure I understand what you're saying.
So library users' data is not captured. It's just the library itself's data as it shares its catalog with people that use it.
Well, the patron data is part of the library data, and there's laws around that protect the privacy. And so in the same way that we have patron data on our server, it would be on the hosted server, but it's unique to us and it's not anything that anybody else can get to.
Do we need to incorporate any sort of patron notice about the fact that their data is being stored in a cloud rather than internally?
Yeah.
Just to protect the library?
Well, it does go through, so before we'd exit Steve, you want to talk about the security process?
Yeah, so, in the case of CERC Dynix, they are also hosting for federal government special libraries too. So they have a certain level of security that they've had to reach in their data center and in their practices, which have they've made available for customers to look at these policies. And we've run those through the city's enterprise IT security analyst, and he was pretty impressed with what they're doing. And then of course the contract has been gone through with the acting city attorney, and he didn't have any mention of having to make any kind of notice or anything to patrons, I guess.
We can certainly go back to him and double check that, because this decision, we still have to, you'll still have to sign the contracts before this becomes final.
So just one more question, Steve, I'm hoping you can answer this for me. So we all know that, I guess maybe I shouldn't say that it's fact, but it seems that cloud servers are more susceptible to hacking. So since Audrey has stated that kind of the library and the patron data would kind of be stored in this system, my only question is financial data from customers stored on this system? For example, when people have overdue, I guess I shouldn't say overdue, but lost book fines and they pay that, is that information also stored on this server?
We don't we don't maintain that data for any longer than we really need to after a transaction is completed.
Well, and we don't store the credit card. So
Right.
it stores the fact that they paid the lost fine, but not any of the data that would allow somebody to steal their credit card.
Right.
That's handled in a separate process.
Got you. I too feel similarly to Jenny that, we should be notifying the community of the change. People might have opinions or might have feelings. What do the other board members think? Erin?
I see both sides. I don't feel strongly. I think this is part of what our library does for us and has always done. So I don't feel strongly that it's an issue, but I see the point.
Hi, this is Kristen. I'm just gonna piggyback off what Erin said. I absolutely understand the need for protection and transparency in this, but I guess I feel the same way as she does. She said it better than me, but I just wanted to say I kind of agree with her.
Okay, thank you. Ken?
Aye.
Just looking for your opinion on the what
Oh,
on
no,
the
I'm fine.
okay.
Thanks.
Anyone else? All right, we can put this to a vote. Is there anyone uncomfortable putting this to a vote? All right. Jenny, do you want just to make sure that Audrey sends that back prior to vote, or do you feel we can take a vote and just have Audrey look into that notification for patrons?
Yeah, I would be completely supportive of taking a vote on this, and it would just be really nice if we could get some sort of draft of a potential notification that we could utilize for patrons to know where they're, what is happening with their data. I think that it's kind of an industry standard when it comes to like applications and cloud-based services. So I would like us to maybe try for that, but I'm comfortable with a vote to get this ball rolling. So I would move to approve replacing our internal server with this cloud-based server.
All right, that sounds good. Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second. Brown.
Perfect. We will take vote via roll call. Ken?
Aye.
Erin?
Aye.
Jenny?
Aye.
Kristen?
Aye.
Adam?
Aye.
Omar?
Aye.
Stephanie?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
Arhan?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Now we will move on to sorry, I lost my place. Old business, starting with Blue Cloud Mobile.
Okay, so Blue Cloud Mobile, we have the contract now to get that software purchased. So if you approve this, and a reminder, this is the one being funded by Selco. So it would mean that we keep going on the implementation of the software for searching the catalog via app.
Okay. Any questions before a motion to approve? All right, seeking a motion.
This is Erin. I enthusiastically move.
Thank you, Erin, for the enthusiasm. Do we have a second?
Hi, this is Kristen. I second.
Thank you, Kristen. Vote via roll call, starting with Erin.
Aye.
Jenny.
Aye.
Kristen.
Aye.
Adam. Adam.
Sorry, I muted myself. Aye.
Omar.
Aye.
Stephanie,
Aye.
Sarah,
Aye.
Arhan.
Aye.
Thank you. And just as a note, Perna, I realize I may not have called upon myself in the last one. I am an aye for everything that has passed. So, and Tanea, aye as well. And I don't see Ken, so I think that would be it for votes. So it passes. You got your Blue Cloud Mobile.
Thank you very much.
Next, we have the hours update.
And I'm turning this over to Karen.
I'm going to make sure I turn both microphones on here. So we have been meeting and discussing the best way to move forward with really getting a good idea of what hours will be the most approved or used and utilized, and also understanding that we really want to do this through an equity lens. So we've devised a methodology that really takes customer surveys as well as non-customer surveys. And also we'd like to do some focus groups and then mix that with the community research and then the past library usage data, especially this data that we'll be able to get in our temporary hours that are starting on Monday. So we plan to provide you with an update in July for our survey project. Again, we want this to be a survey that will be distributed both to customers and non-customers so that we can get community voices into the survey. And then our focus group plan will also give you an update on that. Both of these research tools will give us that opportunity that we need to really, it gives us an opportunity so that we can gather some demographic data, which will help us to ensure that we keep on that equity focus. And again, watching those interim usage patterns. A reminder, our hours do change. Starting Monday, we'll be open 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and then Friday through Sunday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. That is more hours than we've been open in the summer months for a very long time, so it'll be interesting to see what the usage is. And our hope is to provide a more detailed full report of our research for you later on, but a plan to bring updates throughout the coming months. Any questions?
Just a comment from me. I love this. I'm so happy to see that, you're using an equity lens to kind of adjust the open hours of the library, Sorry. I manage a laboratory, so I said laboratory, but library. So thank you for doing this.
Absolutely.
Completely agree with what Jenny said. This is Erin. It's great work.
And just to give you a longer term, we don't really expect to come back with a final recommendation until late in the year, because this is going to take some time to do it. And I just don't want you to have an expectation that we're going to come back next month with an actual recommendation. So as long as we're open 7 days a week, we think that'll buy us some time to get this done correctly.
Thank you, Audrey and Karen. And I completely agree with what Jenny said as well. The next informational item is the July board meeting. Sounds like we need to be in person.
Yeah, I am expecting that to happen, and we could make the decision to meet in July in person, whether or not the state, declarations change. That's really up to the board on whether or not. But once the state declaration goes away, we're required to meet in person. So we will not, like I know other organizations are adapting to do hybrid. Because of open meeting law, we will not be able to do hybrid meetings. They will need to be in person.
So one note is that we're all aware there's a lot of conversation around vaccination status. Is there some way, Audrey, of someone coordinating voluntary reporting of vaccination status so that we are aware before we start with an in-person meeting? Because I mean, we don't know if we have some members of our board who have not been able to be vaccinated due to any specific reason. And, you know, I want to understand the implications.
I'm open for that conversation. I mean, if the board is willing to share that information, you know, I'm happy to, you know, we're happy to coordinate that. The other thing we can say is if you're not vaccinated, you need to wear a mask, which is kind of what the recommendation is. So I'm open to how you want to do it.
So Anthony and Audrey, Audrey, you basically said exactly what I was going to say. I actually manage a COVID testing lab right now. And, you know, the conversation surrounding vaccination status is very, very front in our daily conversations here. And so the stance that, you know, we've taken is that we don't necessarily require anybody to reveal whether or not they are vaccinated. What we do ask is that everybody in the room just stay masked. And the masking does help reduce the, you know, the chance that you would, you know, be affected if anything were floating around. So that would be my recommendation, is that if we are going to do some sort of in-person meeting prior to, you know, any sort of state law requiring it to be in person, that we just ask to stay masked.
Okay.
Rather than disclosing vaccination status, because I don't know if everybody is comfortable with that.
Nope, I understand. And I just want to note that, you know, personally, I'm vaccinated and I am comfortable wearing a mask in the meeting. I just want to make sure that everyone's preferences are represented. So I'm wondering, Audrey, if we could just coordinate just responses from the board members, just stating, one, if they're willing to wear a mask during the meeting, and two, out of curiosity, if they have any interest in disclosing vaccination status. And that way we can kind of just understand if the whole board is willing to wear a mask and if people are willing to share vaccination status without any of it being requisite. I mean, without the latter being requisite.
But we also have to remember that the public will be coming back to our meetings.
Yeah, and
yeah, that was my question, is are we limiting the number of individuals allowed in the meeting room that we were already having the meetings? And if those who are willing to disclose their vaccination status, would it be shared and or required by those attending from the public? I think that's also some consideration we need to be thinking about too.
Got you. And will masking be required by the public?
Regardless of vaccination status or not.
Yes. Are we able to set that kind of policy?
I would have to follow up with the city attorney on that. I don't know the answer to it.
Okay. Do other board members have strong feelings? And Stephanie, thank you very much for that. All right, would it be just preferable for the board if Audrey can get back to us on some of those points? I think it was mainly, one, can we require that the public wear masks if they come to the library board meeting? Two, are board members willing to wear masks and have that conversation be coordinated by someone specific rather than like a group conversation? And then two, if the members of the board are willing or even interested in sharing vaccination status. And perhaps we can strike the last one if we feel like wearing a mask is preferable, but I just would really like to understand the board's preferences. Is that all right, Audrey?
Sure. I would put that last question to the board then on whether or not would people just prefer to wear masks, and then you won't necessarily have to worry about who's coming in from the public, or do you want or are you wanting for us to coordinate vaccination status?
And Audrey, if it's okay, I would just move to keep that conversation private. Like, I know I am very happy to announce my personal information when it comes to that, but I don't want anyone to be in a position where they feel compelled. So if we could just coordinate the
Yep.
board member decisions on wearing masks and the board member even sharing or having conversation around vaccination status privately, that would be preferable. The next informational item is the city leadership structure.
Yeah, I don't have much to report beyond this, other than that I've been added to the city executive team. So we're still kind of figuring out what exactly that means. Part of it is, as the leadership team has grown, it's almost impossible to make progress because you never have everybody around the table, because with 20 people, you just can't get everybody there. So it's a much smaller group, and we're kind of working through which decisions are made at which level, and we're kind of working our way through that. But I'm really excited. I think there's some really good conversations, and as the city council is working through strategic priorities and we start working on work plans, I just think there's a lot of alignment with what the library board has already done, with what city council is doing. And so I just think there's some really good things happening, and just wanted to let you know about that.
I appreciate it. I think we all do. Are there any questions for Audrey around this? All right, thank you. Moving on to the American Rescue Plan money.
So let me get there, sorry. So we are, so the city council started having that conversation about the American Rescue Plan money. And it's still, they really want the city to come back with a proposal and put things kind of in buckets. And on the spreadsheet that was shared with city council was a proposal to fix the library roof with American Rescue Plan dollars. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention, that happened at city council. Doesn't mean that that's actually going to happen, but and we're bringing Scott Ramsey in next month to have a conversation about so that conversation will be ongoing, but it's certainly a possibility. And that, I don't think that really impacts us in terms of the ongoing, the ongoing discussion about what happens with the library long term. You know, I think the city is looking at that if we don't do something about this roof, we're going to lose this asset. And so, so that's where we're at. I mean, I don't think it necessarily stops it certainly doesn't stop the conversation, because we haven't had any momentum around going up, to be perfectly honest. That isn't really forefront on the city council's agenda right now. So I don't think this hurts us. Is what I'm going to say in terms of in terms of future space planning.
Are there any thoughts or concerns or opinions before we close that informational item? I think we all agree the library needs a new roof. Thank you. Moving on to service updates. This is actually kind of exciting.
It is. It's really this is the most normal we've felt in a long time. So as Karen had mentioned earlier, we're transitioning to 7 days a week, more hours, and that is because the call center closed on June 11th, which means all the teammates who were answering the calls are transitioning back to the building. So so that's happening. Had a meeting this week about services to people experiencing homelessness. What does that post-pandemic look like? So I also anticipate that, so the contract with the landing to run the day center expires at the end of August. So I would expect the Health and Human Services team from the Emergency Operations Center to be in still needed through that date, but I would expect us to transition out of that shortly after that. I'm having conversations with the city's EOC to verify that. But in the meantime, we're at the table talking about how do we build a better system post-pandemic. And we had a really positive meeting this week with a number of partners. So yeah, so that's where that's at. So it's been, in a lot of ways, there have been a lot of really good things that have happened during the pandemic that have made that we've collaborated a lot more and had to innovate a lot more than we did pre-pandemic. So, and then programming is coming back in September. The administrative team is making sure that the programming, as we bring it back, that we're aligned with our strategic plan and making sure that's where we put our resources. So those conversations are ongoing. Questions?
I have no questions, but I'm like shaking my hands in celebration because it's really exciting that we've reached the point where the call center can close. And I'm very happy that you guys are still having discussions around our homeless population and how to support them post-pandemic.
Thank you.
Hi, Kristen. I was just gonna echo the same sentiment. I'm very excited and happy about all of this. So yay merrily to the highest extent.
With enthusiasm.
Yeah, exactly. With enthusiasm. And then we have a quick sharing strengths on call center. I know it's been a long meeting, so I will propose that if possible, we keep this a bit short, but I do want you guys to highlight this incredible work.
Well, this is Kim. There is a three-minute video from Ken Jones that I would like to share with you if you could give me 3 minutes. Do I have 3 minutes? If you want it shorter, I could just pull the link and then you can look at it later.
3 minutes is that's delightful. That's perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
We tested this. Let's see if it works. I'm going to share my screen with the sound, and we'll hear from Ken Jones, the city administrator, in his thank you to library staff.
His EOC manager.
Oh,
Hi,
sorry.
everybody. This is Ken Jones. As you know, I'm the Director of Emergency Management for the City of Rochester, and we opened up the EOC in response to the coronavirus 2020 is what we called it way back then. Early in the pandemic, by mid-March, we were talking to the mayor and saying that we wanted to activate our call center, but we were going to do it as a recorded line. And she said, no, 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 no. That won't do. We really need to have somebody answer the calls from people. So we looked for departments that weren't busy and reached out to a different department and asked them if they could fulfill that function. They did not feel that they could. And we went back to our planning group and just said, could you take a look and see who could fulfill that function? Andy Stair stepped forward and said, I think the library could do it for you. So we went forward to bring in library for what we called the call intake. I learned that you, as librarians, are ideally suited for this particular assignment. Not sure what will happen in the future, but for COVID-19, we had a lot of things happening. We didn't have good information, and we had a lot of questions. Librarians, I think, have a relationship orientation, but it's still solutions oriented. They're going to dig down and be able to find answers to the issue that's going on. To me, it was a perfect marriage. And I already appreciated the role that libraries could play in a disaster, but it just went through the roof. So now we're in June, and Public Health has said, hey, we no longer need DLAN tickets, and we don't need that information. As we know, most of the calls that have come in recently have been related to vaccine and those sort of health questions. And the county just wants to put things at their front desk. So the natural thing for us to do is to say, well, library, if Public Health doesn't need us anymore, we've been trying to pull you away from this, you're free. And here you go. So wonderful. The EOC managers will manage that call intake, but we'll be able to do it through a recorded line. And, you know, I'm about to feel the burden that you've been under for over a year now. And, you know, even though I've taken tickets on an occasional basis, I really haven't done it like you have. I've seen the anxiety, but not nearly to the depth that you have. And I hope that I can, and Julie and Ryan can answer these questions with the same sort of alacrity and spirit that you guys have demonstrated. So really, from the bottom of my heart, thank you very much. You've been and have made this a great success.
Thank you so much for sharing, Kim. That was 3 minutes well spent, and I am really impressed by the work that the library put into supporting the call center.
Thank you, Antonia. I cannot say enough good things about the team.
Amazing work.
There should be like a celebration button where you could click and it'll like throw confetti over your picture on Teams. Okay, so we have now come to question time. I feel like we've done a really good job of asking questions throughout, but if there are any lingering questions, please speak up.
Hi, Kristen. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
I hope this isn't a silly question, but I assume we would meet in person at the library, correct? At 4:30?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and we'll
Sorry if that's silly.
we'll notify you which room. We've typically met in meeting room C, and I would anticipate that would be the room we would be in.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
No, great question. I forget that, you know, it's been more than a year since we've met in person, so.
Oh yeah, Audrey, has anyone run Kristen through orientation, given her a key fob, shown her the building? No?
I did orientation virtually, but as far as like the building tour and everything, not yet.
Yep, we will get that done.
Yay.
Let me see the bookmobile.
Hey, double yay.
All right. Are there any other questions before we adjourn? All right. Hearing none, this meeting is officially adjourned. Thank you everyone for your time today. And we'll see you in July, maybe in person.